Okay, I asked Reggie Miller, can we get this out of the way? I asked Reggie Miller on Monday. I said, do you think Michael said to the commissioner, I'll do the dream team, but Isaiah doesn't get to play?
I don't have any idea about that, to be honest with you, Dan. But, I've told Isaiah, who I really like a lot, that was never presented to me in a, like, hey, do you want Isaiah on the team? So I have heard the rumors. I don't know what's true and what's not true. So I just don't know the answer to your question, but that was never presented to me.
Was it true that Isaiah froze out Michael or tried to in the All-Star game?
I wasn't in that All-Star game.
I know, but I'm asking you.
Hey, I don't know the answer to.
Uh-oh. We just lost.
Question.
Okay.
40 years in the NBA, Dan, it's crazy.
You think that's crazy that he would have tried to freeze out Michael in the All-Star game?
Yeah, I think it would be crazy. I don't think you could get because first of all, you got to get all the guys to agree to that. So I don't believe that at all.
Is that Shaq's shoe over your shoulder?
Mitch Richmond, this is the second dream team. This is the second dream team, the stuff I got on the wall. The stuff on the original dream team, other than this flag, I got hid because people might steal this. They won't steal this stuff. I got the original dream team stuff. Other than this flag, I got that stuff hid. I got a Magic Johnson practice jersey that I stole. I got a Michael Jordan practice jersey that I stole. But all that stuff is hid.
Did you sit down for the Jordan documentary?
I did.
And what were the topics that they broached with you?
I actually don't remember, Dan. It was done like pretty much a year ago, so I really don't remember what we talked about.
Did you have any beef with Michael?
Never. Me and Michael always been cool. He was always like a brother to me, and he treated me great. Obviously, that's changed now, but the documentary has been. I don't think there's anything shocking in there, to be honest with you.
Well, I think that we looked at Jerry Krause was the villain, and then
No, he wasn't.
No. He was portrayed as the villain because, at the end, because he took it apart.
He didn't take that apart. Anybody think that's a fool? That thing was all orchestrated by Jerry Reinsdorf. The notion that that little man broke up the Bulls is asinine and absurd. Hey, listen, John, if you go back and look at and use common sense, just use plain common sense. Jerry Reinsdorf broke up the Bulls because he didn't want to pay anybody. You think about this. He let Horace Grant go because he became a free agent, didn't want to pay him. They probably won't talk about that in the documentary. That's why he left and went to Orlando. He only paid Michael the last 2 years.
Yeah.
When he had Michael at a bargain, he was happy. So he didn't want to pay Michael. He paid him those last 2 years. And he had Scotty under a great deal. That's the reason he broke up the Bulls, strictly because of money. But to try to make Jerry Krause to be the bad guy, I thought that was very disingenuous by Jerry Reinsdorf.
I agree. After I watched that documentary, those first 2 episodes, I came in on Monday and I said, why is it that Jerry Reinsdorf, the owner, has no blood on his hands in this?
Well, because that's the way he is. He's the silent assassin. He's my man from that movie, The Professional. You come in and kill you, and you don't even know you're dead till it's over.
And Jerry Krause isn't around to defend himself. That was what, he helped build that team, and then it felt like he was Yoko Ono blaming him for the breakup of the Beatles.
It doesn't even matter if he was around. Number one, rest in peace. But the notion that Jerry Krause broke up the Bulls, Dan, come on, man. If Jerry Reinsdorf wanted the Bulls to stay together, they would have stayed together. I mean, for somebody to take Jerry Krause all of a sudden became the hand and broke up the Bulls, I think that is just stupid. Dan, did you not pay your bill?
I think it's your bill.
Dan, I haven't spent money on anything in like 2 months. I got plenty of it.
What are you doing at home? Like, how do you pass the time?
Well, the good thing, I'm back in Arizona, so I started a regiment where I work out twice a day.
Nice.
I play golf 3 days a week. I can only drink on Friday and Saturday. So I've been trying to do, that's all I could do. I love to drink, but I know I could not drink every day. So I quit drinking except on Friday and Saturday. I got a big golf match today with a bunch of the Coyote hockey players. We play about 3 days a week. We got like a Ryder Cup format. So today's a big day in the Barkley golf world.
Talking to Charles Barkley, the Hall of Famer, joining us, Dan Patrick Show. The Isaiah Thomas looks like an apology tour here about not shaking hands with the Bulls. My reaction with that, Chuck, was own it. You're the Bulls. You were the bad boys. Who cares if you didn't shake Mike's hand? Like, I just didn't. I like Lane Beer's approach. He's like, yeah, we didn't. They were whiners. We didn't want to shake their hands.
First of all, they were wrong. They should have shook their hands. So they should have did that. The thing that was amazing, if you go back when I saw that, even after they had beat the hell out of Michael, he shook their hands.
Yep.
I mean, I'm not sure if a guy had beat me to a pulp 3 years in a row, I'd shake their hands, but Michael went up to them and shook their hands and said, congratulations. Listen, the Pistons were wrong. I think we've all did things in our life that we would like to go back. The Pistons were wrong, and first of all, they let this thing get out of hand. If they just had said, and I love Isaiah. I love working with him. I like him a lot. He probably gets the least amount of respect out of all the great players in NBA history. But all they had to do to put out this brush fire is, hey, we were wrong. We should have shook their hands. You can't let this thing simmer and let the media and let all these idiots on some net. Not you, Dan. You know who I'm talking about. You can't let these idiots on other networks. When I say idiots, I mean Skip Bayless. You can't let idiots and fools like that just throw gasoline on the fire. Isaiah, who I love, should have just said, "Hey, we were wrong," and this thing would have been over.
Yeah, my point was, you're known as the bad boys. Okay, you didn't shake Mike's hand. So what? Mike was the...
Yeah, but Mike shook their hand.
I know.
Dan.
Mike was the bigger man with that, Chuck.
Yeah, but you know what, Dan? You can't just shake people's hands when you win. That was the bad thing about it.
I know they're wrong, Chuck. I know they're wrong. But you're the bad boys. The way you played was wrong. They beat up... Yes, it was. It was. They beat up... Look at the video of what they did to Jordan. That wasn't real basketball.
That was the rules, though.
It was a shame that David Stern allowed the Knicks and the Pistons to play that kind of basketball.
The Miami Heat did.
Yeah, Miami Heat did too. Okay. You're right. Yeah, it was bad basketball.
You know what? They had a heck of a team. They had a bunch of good players. I mean, obviously, Joe Dumars and Isaiah are great players.
Yep.
And Dennis was a hell of a player. But they still had Benny Johnson. Lambeer was a good little player. Sally was a good player. James Edwards. I mean, they had a good team.
They had a great team. They had an underrated team. I said that we just didn't like that style, but that team was a great team. You had a Hall of Fame coach. You had Hall of Famers with Rodman was unbelievable back then. That version of Dennis was incredible.
Yes, agreed.
You didn't have any run. Well, you had run in with Lane Beer. You were going to fight him, or didn't you throw punches?
If you mean punched him in the head, yes, I did. Yes. You know what's really funny about that? You know what's really funny about that Piston team? Only two guys on that team could fight: Isaiah and Joe Dumars. Like Rodman couldn't fight, Sally couldn't fight, Mahorn couldn't fight, Lambeer couldn't fight. I mean, now Benny Johnson and James Edwards, they'd fight. But the main four guys I just mentioned, none of them could fight a lick.
But Lane Beer was always starting. He was an instigator there.
Go back and look at all the highlights. He was always getting punched in the head. That does not mean that just means you got punched in the head. Seriously, Dan, go back and look at all the highlights.
No, Charles, he started the fight. He didn't end the fight.
That's exactly right. Just because you get punched in the face does not mean you started a fight. That means you just got punched in the face.
Oh, he's slim and he's sexy. Joining us from his man cave, Charles Barkley. You'd look good. I'm happy for you. Yeah, I'm glad.
That I am not going to complain because, man, I just want to shout out to all the first responders out there, all the nurses, and all the doctors who are, normally unless you're a cop or a fireman, you don't have to risk your life every day. But I just feel sad on so many fronts. I mean, like I say, the first responders, but all these people who are in the restaurant business who are going to lose their job, who have lost their jobs and are going to lose their jobs because even when this pandemic is over, a lot of these restaurants are, number one, people are not going to have money to go there and eat, but also people are going to be afraid to congregate. So this thing is going to be catastrophic for a lot of people in the restaurant industry. So my thoughts are with them. So I'm not going to complain at all. I mean, yes, I'm bored. I'm not even worried about the NBA coming back. I'm not worried about the NHL coming back. I'm not worried about football. I'm just worried about the big picture because, man, the most important thing, how are we going to do this and keep anybody safe? Man, I don't know how you can do it and keep people safe.
Yeah, I just don't see fans coming back, being able to come back until.
Dan, right? Dan, that's gone out the window. That's not even. We shouldn't even be discussing that. There's no fans coming to sporting events if we start playing again. That's got zero chance of happening. My concern is how are we going to get. I mean, obviously the three most important sports right now. Because football got some time. Hockey, which I love the Stanley Cup playoffs, the NBA playoffs, and Major League Baseball. How are we going to keep the players safe? I mean, and people who going to be around.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you something. I was talking to my lawyer. He says, if you guys get one of these people sick and they die, or one of these players die, legally, we're going to be up a creek.
Yep. I'll leave you with this. The report came out that Michael Jordan decided to do this documentary. He had all this footage. And they said that they won't release it. NBA Entertainment will not release it until Michael says that they can release it. He said no for decades. Then on the day LeBron wins the championship, Clinton, he's in Cleveland, and Michael says, tells the producer, okay, let's do this. Do you think that's just a coincidence, or maybe it's Mike's way of saying, let me remind some people and inform a new generation of just how damn good I was?
Well, I don't know the answer to that question, but there's a couple things about this documentary. Number one, when just looking at Michael talking to Roy Williams, talking about, nobody's going to work harder than me, and nobody ever has. And then when he wanted to come back and play with a broken foot, and Jerry says, no, you're going to risk your career. He just wanted to play. And I wish the number one thing that these young players today get out of this documentary, you can have all the followers you want. You can make all the money you want. The most important thing is being the best player. That's what I hope these young guys get out of this. But let me finish up with this. What he went through against the Bulls, that's what to me makes him the greatest player ever. No disrespect to Kobe, because Kobe's the closest I've seen to Michael. No disrespect to LeBron, who's an amazing man, number one, an amazing player. But to get beat down like that and keep coming back, that reminded me like why I think this dude is the greatest basketball player ever. I mean, because the way they play the NBA today, Dan, and I'm not the old get off my lawn guy, and you said it earlier, what they did to that dude 3 years in a row, for him to keep coming back, well, that's what make him the GOAT.
Okay, back to my question. Do you think Michael, this was a calculated move on the day LeBron wins the championship, he decides to do it, allow them to do a documentary on the last year of the Bulls?
How the hell am I going to know that?
I just ask you. I know you don't know everything, but you know Michael is the most competitive guy you've ever been around. And to me, it was Michael saying, yeah, LeBron's won another title here. Maybe, let me just put this out there and just let people, just remind them of how great I was?
Well, let me tell you something. If that was his goal, we are reminded.
I know.
And let me tell you something, Dan. As a person who lived the Jordan era, listen, man. Like I say, I'm not trying to be the old guy. You watching these highlights bring back some serious memories. How great this guy was. I mean, it's incredible to relive it. It's incredible to relive it. I mean, I know it's old and happened a long time ago.
You know what Reggie Miller said to me, Chuck? He said, I said, what would happen if you ran into Jordan? And he goes, I might want to punch him. I might hug him or punch him. Reggie still he really had a hard time. Like, it was sports trauma. After watching those first 2 episodes, he was like still mad at Jordan, like for their relationship, their rivalry.
Well, I saw some guys who tried to make a big deal out of Michael playing golf with Danny Ainge one day.
Yeah.
And see, these young guys don't get it. We're not mad about them playing golf together. We're mad about them all teaming up together. That ain't the same. That ain't the same. Yeah, we've all played golf at different times, but we ain't never said, hey, man, let's get together and dominate the league. That's what the different aspect of being friends with guys is. We never all got together and said, let's dominate the league.
That's good. I'm glad you're healthy, and good luck in quarantine.
I miss you, man. You guys be safe.
Yep.
Keep your distance, and bless all y'all, man.
One of these days, we're doing the show from the Barkley Estates.
Hey, I changed the name. I make it a compound now because I got a basketball and tennis. Yeah, I got a basketball and tennis court now in the backyard, Dan.
You don't use either one of those.
Well, I got a putting green too.
And you don't use that either.
Oh, I practice my putting every day now, Dan.
Good.
Hey,
Good.
You're welcome at the compound anytime, brother.
I like that. And do you have bunk beds? So when I bring out the Danettes that...
Dan, I got a guest house on my property, brother.
I like it.
I got a guest house.
Thank you, bud. A couple of phone calls. Royal in Iowa leads us off. Hi, Royal.
Hello. Great to talk to you. Enjoyed the interview with Charles Barkley. And yesterday here in Sioux City, Iowa, a local retired journalist brought up a story about Wilt Chamberlain from his mentor that used to write down in Kansas City. And kind of knew the Wilt Chamberlain story and everything. And Wilt Chamberlain was asked who was the greatest of all time. And, of course, like any great athlete, Wilt said he was. And he went on to compare himself to Michael Jordan. This was not long before Wilt had passed on. I believe it was in the late 90s. Anyway, Wilt said he could out vertical jumping. I think Wilt said he did 50 inches, which I didn't know that.
That's not true.
Wilt was an All-American high jumper,
Oh, I know. He played volleyball. No, I know his whole story here, Royal. But no, Wilt, not 50 inches at 7'1". No. The greatest leapers of all time, nobody's got 50-inch vertical leap. But yeah, Wilt was great. In his era, he was great. Absolutely. But today, that style, he would not be anywhere near what he once was. In his generation, he was great. Absolutely. And you could say, was he the GOAT before Michael? No, because Bill Russell, because he had a better team, he won more championships. Wilt did everything except for win. And that was always held against him. All these stats, it didn't matter. How did you do against Russell and the Celtics? You didn't do well at all. Charles is always fun. And, the point he brings up about Jerry Krause, the GM, who was, you give him credit as the architect of building the Bulls. And then all of a sudden, we put the blame on him because he's Yoko Ono breaking up the Beatles. And that's not, the owner is going to make these decisions. The owner is the one who is going to be writing those checks. How is it that Jerry Reinsdorf, I don't know if he's interviewed and asked about this, but if you're going to do a documentary and you're going to have Jerry Krause and Jerry's going to take the slings and arrows and he's not even around to defend himself, I have to ask the director, the producer, you got to ask Jerry Reinsdorf, Jerry, you're the one that broke up the team, not Jerry Krause. Are you trying to tell me that Jerry Krause goes, hey, I don't care what you say, Mr. Reinsdorf, I'm breaking up the Chicago Bulls? Because you were going to have to pay Scottie Pippen some big money. Mike made $30 million. Everybody else was sort of in that $3, $4, $5 million range. Yeah, Paul.
If you remember, Michael Jordan, like you said, made about $3 million a year most of his career, but his last 2 years with the Bulls, he made $33 million a year based off the Larry Bird salary cap rule. They didn't get charged the full $33 million on their salary cap. It still came out of their pockets, though. It looked like they were getting a deal because they had the the Larry Bird rule on Jordan, and it didn't hurt their cap, but they still had to pay him $33 million a year.
It doesn't make any sense that Krause he got some credit for building this, but he got all the blame for dismantling this. I just can't imagine that Jerry Krause is going to go, hey, to the owner, hey, let's just break this apart now. The owner is the one who looks at this as from the financial aspect of this. You've already got your titles here. Do you want to do it again, or do you want to somehow recoup or make more money here? It was a monetary decision here. But Charles is right. And I said at the time, that Monday after the first two episodes, there's no blood on Jerry Reinsdorf's hands, and there should be.